Hello.
Jesse. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
How's,
So, what was that?
how's Mr. Teddy since?
He's good. He's good. Yeah. He's really been enjoying daycare,
Good.
and it's been really nice for me because in the winter he can't he hates the cold, so I'm there's like really
No
hard for him to
activity.
get any energy out.
Yeah.
So, and I'm wondering if that's kind of spurring some of the things that I wanted to talk to you about
Sure.
today. There's a couple of things.
Okay.
Overall, he's been doing really good, which is why it's like the last time I saw you for a training session was a long time ago.
Right.
So the main things that I wanted to go over today are two main things. One is that we have two dogs in our townhouse that are very like yippy dogs and just they're not very socialized with other dogs at all, and we never let them meet Teddy or sniff each other. Like the owners just know to immediately like turn around,
Mhm.
because it just seems like their dog, like they have to pick their dog up and like cover its eyes in order to like not have it like freak
Oh,
out.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, do I put your business card in their mailbox? Like, um, but anyways, when Teddy hears them or any like scuffling of any sort, which we hear a lot because we're on the first floor, so we hear anything that comes down the stairs, including the dogs that are yipping. He like charges at the door, barks really really loud, like growls and grunts, and it has gotten so annoying, especially working from home. And so that's one thing I would love to conquer. I've been trying a couple different things,
Okay.
um, and it seems to have gotten better over the past week a little bit, but I don't think I'm being consistent enough with what I'm doing because I'm not sure if it's helping or not.
Okay. What are you doing?
So one thing that I tried it for like a few days, was basically when he would be barking or freaking out because he heard noise, was I would um, zap him until I could tell he was feeling it, but I had
Okay.
to turn it up really high because he
What
was
numbers?
what number? Like sometimes it was like 50.
Okay.
Um, which obviously he was in a like heightened state, but
Mm-hmm.
up until he felt it, and then would redirect him to his crate and just tell him to place for a few minutes.
Okay.
And then when he calmed down, I would tell him to break, and oftentimes he wouldn't even come out because he'd be like kind of tired and comfortable in there. But that's really the only thing that I can tell you that I've been trying. That's an actual like tactic. Otherwise, I've just been trying to zap him or like I don't know, redirect him to a toy or something. That's what I've been doing.
Is that your main issue for today's thing, or is there others?
Um, Another issue is that just general hyper craziness when I have guests over. I've
Okay.
had trouble implementing the place command
Okay.
in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe some advice for that would be awesome. And then there's another thing, and I think it's because of the cold weather, but he's had two accidents in the last,
Oh, yeah.
number twos in the last 2 weeks. Um, and I take him out all the time. He usually goes, and one time it was when I had guests over, he like snuck to my sister's room and like pooped on her bed, which is just not normal for him. He hasn't had an accident like that in so long. And then randomly when I have guests over, which I think maybe he's like a little overstimulated or anxious or something, like he just
Yep.
goes and poops and pees on her bed.
Yep.
I don't know if there's an explanation for it or if it's the cold or he wasn't getting enough attention or what, but yeah, those are the main issues that I've been having.
Okay. So the potty one is common, especially with small dogs.
Okay.
When I first moved, because my dog's from Texas,
Mhm.
the south, like an hour away from Mexico, so they were just used to heat. They weren't used to any kind of cold.
Mhm.
Is our first couple of winters here would always start with potty mistakes
Okay.
because they're like, screw this. Like they did not want to go outside. They were just too
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And now they, of course, potty normally.
Mhm.
They still hate the cold. So for small dogs, not uncommon. So what I would do is kind of go back to just the potty training crate basics, which would be like, let's say in the morning, it's almost with most dogs, like I guarantee they're going to pee and poop,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So let's say he pees, but he doesn't poop.
Uh-huh.
Well, we know it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Is he does not get freedom.
Okay.
So then I'd kennel him, and like let's say 3 hours later, you take him out to potty again, and he pees and poops. Now I let him be free.
Okay.
Okay. So you would know. I would think you probably have a good idea of like his bowel movements for the day. Yep. And um, because like let's say you put him in the kennel and he does poop. Okay. Because maybe he had to go really bad, and he's like, "Oh crap! I've been holding this, overnight, blah blah blah."
Yeah.
And I go and I leave him. I don't clean the dog up. I leave him with the poop until the 3 hours or whatever time you designate is up.
Okay.
So then he learns, crap.
You can't poop
I'm
in the
taking out in
crate.
the morning. I didn't poop. I went in the crate and I had to hold it. And then I couldn't hold it. Then I pooped in the crate and had to sit with it for an hour and a half or whatever.
Mhm.
Right. So then the next time it's going to incentivize him to take advantage of those opportunities, because he's not always going to have the freedom of going on your sister's bed to poop or pee. Or if you take him out to pee, and when I start to see potty issues, or if I'm working with a puppy, I always watch the stream.
Okay.
And if it's clear the whole way, that can be overhydration.
Okay.
Okay. So typically, like I can tell, like if it starts strong and ends strong, that's usually a sign of there's more pee to go. If it's a start strong, ends in the trickle, then you can assume that that's end of the bladder. Okay. Another way to tell is if it starts clear and then turns yellow towards the end, that's also the end of the bladder. Okay. So if you take him out the potty and it starts strong, it ends strong, and maybe he's taking a sweet time and you don't want to wait out because it's cold, well, then I just put him in the kennel. And I assume that he did not empty himself. And then however long later you want to take him out, you remove him from the kennel, straight out to go potty, and then you see he empties himself, and then he gets the freedom back into the home. Okay. And if you've noticed, you said it's typically when you have guests come over. Is that correct?
That was the one big time where I was in trouble because it was my sister's bed. But then the other time it was just I had taken him out 6 times that day, and it was like the -2 degrees a few nights ago. Like I think that was the one off, but the sister's bed one, like he had gone, and I guess it seemed purposeful, not like to get back at me for anything, but it just was, he could have held it, because I saw him go earlier that day.
What was the time frame between when he pottied and the earliest you think he could have had that mistake?
It was probably less than 3 hours.
Okay. And it was both pee and poop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pee on the bed, poop on the floor.
Yeah. Were people ignoring him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, in the beginning, no. And then it was like a painting party that we did. So we were like not focusing on him at all. And he just snuck off and did it.
Did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it could have been like a frustration thing, or due to the overstimulation, like he just couldn't hold it anymore.
I was really stressed that night because, like when we have my friends really love him and all that. And like, but it's hard for me to control him just because he's so overexcited about people being there. So I tried to put him in his crate just to see if he would calm down, and he just went crazy, like screaming in the basement. And so I just let him out because I was like, either he's going to be crazy up here or crazy in his crate, and sounds like he's dying. So I just let him out. I don't know if that was the right thing to do though.
Well, it reinforces the behavior.
Yeah.
Because he learns, like, if I scream long enough or loud enough, I'm going to get out.
Yeah. Okay.
So for the potty training stuff, I would add those components in. And, if it's negative, because I think we're supposed to go negatives this weekend as well.
Okay.
And he's just over a year or 2 years now?
He's almost 3.
Oh, he's almost 3. Oh shit, it's been
Yeah.
that long.
Yeah.
Wow. Um, in previous years with the winter time, have you noticed the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, um, not too surprising, but if it's something you want to remedy, that's what I would do.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
just
definitely try that.
be mindful and go, okay, you didn't poop, and I know you have to poop. Where you going in the crate? And until I see you poop, you're not gonna not be in that crate,
Yeah.
right? So like, let's say you put him in the crate. 3 hours later, take him out. He still doesn't poop. Back in the crate we go. 3 hours later, take him out. Doesn't poop. Back in the crate we go. No freedom until I see that happen. Okay, and eventually it should break that habit.
Okay.
So then the other problem um,
Barking at
with
the door.
the kennel
Mhm.
would be so backing them away. It's funny because the last consult, like the last Zoom I just did right now, was actually another client from previously,
Mhm.
and they're having like the same problem. So it's a popular
It's the
topic.
work from home thing. You like realize things.
Yeah.
I'm probably reinforcing it, and I don't even realize just because I'm here.
Right.
Yeah.
So with people coming over, we didn't cover this because we worked at Oz, but I'm gonna volunteer my trainer Enrique to help you with that.
Okay.
Because it's something that I think having a controlled context will help you get it better as opposed to trying it out with your friends. Okay?
Okay.
I'll explain it to you just so you have an idea, and then I'll put you in contact with Enrique,
Okay.
and it'll be a complimentary session
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
because he's done some with me over the Zoom,
Yeah.
but I'm going to send him solo because he's got to learn.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I was thinking about having a surprise guest come tonight, like during this session, just because it's my sister's boyfriend who Teddy just freaks out over, but the weather was so bad he canceled, which is fine. But yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'll send you a video to watch.
Okay.
Where this was back when I was doing the in-homes and we happened to film it.
Okay.
So you can see it to get an idea. And then, I'll explain a little bit here. And then Enrique, of course, will show up and then he'll help you fix that problem.
That'd be awesome.
So you utilizing the place command for that situation is technically not wrong. Like it is an answer.
When guests come over?
Correct.
Okay.
But what can happen is, so we have physical and mental control. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Think of the place command as physical control. But mentally, Teddy is off over the top, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he could be on place, but maybe he's barking up a storm because he's like, I'm so excited you're here, right? Or he's so excited that he's like, screw place, I'm gonna go say hi, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to him breaking the position, it's really just raising that number.
Okay.
And I know Teddy is what, like 20 pounds maybe?
Yeah.
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 Is when people see a little dog like that, they kind of typically think like, oh, I'm not gonna have to go that high to correct the dog. But I had a dog, Teddy, same size, and their number was 80.
Wow.
And the number was 80 just like for normal stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, like the dog was just super just tough and resilient. And it was a little miniature schnauzer.
Oh wow.
So the dog would be sitting there like this, twitching. But if you did anything less, she wouldn't listen.
Okay.
Oh, because here you have to override emotional state because he's so wound up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're doing place command, I'd have him on a leash.
Okay.
And what I would do is leave the door unlocked. And you can tell your guest, knock first and then wait a few seconds and then come in. Okay, so you're going to be back by where Teddy is. He's going to be on his place and you're going to be stepping on the leash by the handle. Okay, so you're not going to be actually holding it, you're just going to be stepping on it. Okay. And let's say I'm going to use 50 as your reference point because that's what you use for the neighbor dog, whatever. Okay, because it's probably going to be similar. So the moment they come in and he triggers, they're going to stay at the door. You're not going to say a thing. You're just going to start tapping on 50. Okay, and you're going to do that 3 tap rule. Tap, 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 no response, 55. No response, 60. We're going to keep repeating that. And you might hit like 80. And then finally you'll see Teddy with no words just jump back on place. Okay, because he has to self-correct. Okay. Once he's there, your guests have to ignore him. Then we see how does that affect him? Because technically, the overexcitement is causing the barking and is causing the break position. If you correct that and get him to self-correct because of power, we technically shouldn't see overexcitement anymore.
Okay.
Because he did what he wanted, which was, I'm going to jump off to say hi, but you were restraining him by stepping on the leash, and then the power made him go back.
Yeah.
Okay. So it really should just calm him down tremendously.
Okay.
Then your guests would start to move in. But because they're moving in, he might trigger again.
Yeah.
Okay. I would probably just stay at the number you're at and then pop him again. He hops back on. And you should see each time he just settles more and more. Okay. Because he's wanting to say hi. So technically you have to allow him to correct him at the time to teach him you can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that should give you both behavior of both physical and mental control.
Okay.
The next approach is my preferred approach, and it's the one that I would send you the video for.
Okay.
Is Teddy's under no command. They would knock. And then what you have to do is back them away from the door using the e-collar and body language to calm him down. Okay. So what would happen is from your front door, if you're looking in towards your home, look for a marker for like a threshold. Like for instance, like I see like there's like a carpet right there, right? Yeah. And let's say the entrance was right there, and then looking into it, I saw a carpet with a line. Is I would back them up past the line of the carpet. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So then that line going all the way across the room, Teddy has to go behind it and stay within that space.
Okay.
So and in the video, when you see it, like it'll make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
When you back them up and you flush them back, you're being territorial and you're saying, "This is my door. You need to calm down and go over there." Okay, with no words, no stay, no sit, no down, no place, none of that stuff. Okay, and if anything, if his dog bed is in the area, move it. Okay, because it's going to confuse him.
Okay.
After you've backed him up and you turn around and go to approach the door, you might find him try to follow you. That means he's still not calm yet. So you would turn back around, go to face him, start remoting, walk into him, send him back. Okay, and you keep repeating this. Eventually, you should be able to get to the door, and like if you crack it open, you might see Teddy again get up and go because it's a new trigger. You close the door, you turn around, you tap him, you back him up, he goes back to the spot, and you repeat until eventually you can open the door, and he's behind the threshold looking at the person, but he's not moving. Okay. And I don't care if he's sitting, standing, or laying down. I just need him to be past the line and to be calm.
Okay.
So then once the guest comes in, you might find Teddy, again, tries across the threshold. You would then cut in front of your guest and kind of intercept him, start tapping, move into him to back him off again.
Okay.
So if your guest came into like the front door and like maybe there's like a hallway and like talked to you for like 15 minutes and then left, they would never meet.
Okay.
Because Teddy's behind the threshold.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So each time you back him up from charging the door, you're de-escalating him. Okay. That's why it's important to do it every time. And the first time is always the hardest. It could be like 10 times. But you want to stick with it because then after you repeated it a handful of times, you'll back Teddy up and he'll go past the line. But then he'll like you won't have to do it anymore.
Okay.
Like everything will trigger because you've reinforced it so many times consistently that he'll go like, well, there's no point in trying to break the position because mom's just going to back me up again.
Yeah.
So that's my preferred approach because that's actively dealing with the brain.
Yeah, I would like
as
that.
As opposed to a place where it's like, okay, physically he's there, but mentally he's just off the rocker, right? And that's a common thing. So that's why when I talk to everybody, I go, it's obedience and behavior. Mm-hmm. Obedience is just physical, mechanical control. Behavior is mental, emotional control.
Yeah.
And it's a balance of both of those things depending on the situation.
Yeah.
So by you putting him in the kennel, the reason why he was screaming or whatever, I know the pug scream you're talking about probably, is because physically he's in the kennel. Mentally, he's upstairs at the front door. And because there's that disconnect, it causes that emotional distress. Okay. So we want the brain and the brain and the body to be one. And so like let's say you did the kennel thing, you could technically do that too, but you'd have to correct him for all that screaming. And you could be 95 before he cuts the crap. Okay, like size doesn't matter.
Well,
But you're
so
kind of
while
just
I'm upstairs, if he's in the crate screaming, just
yeah,
correct him so he stops screaming
yeah.
until he's
It won't make him not like the kennel
okay.
because it's only happening as he's screaming.
Hmm.
If he's not screaming, nothing's happening.
Yeah, sometimes we like when we have people over. Like I want to try the method that you just suggested with like the threshold. I think that would be the like a really big game changer. But sometimes if we like have people over, it gets like later in the night and like more people are coming over, so that would be probably like a good time for me to put him in his crate, and so I'll just start correcting him until he stops.
So interesting enough, and you can play that. You can see how this works for Teddy. Is previous experience when people have had multiple guests come over, is they'll have to back the dog up like the first like 3 people. It's usually like 3, and then afterwards the dog doesn't care anymore.
Okay.
Like I guess they go into a social state of like, oh, like today's just a day when there's a lot of people coming over,
Wait,
and they stop. Sorry.
can you repeat that?
Uh, so typically, like let's say someone's gonna have a party.
Yeah.
The first 3 people, they'd have to back the dog away, but then after that, the dog is fine.
Oh,
The dog
okay.
doesn't do anything.
Well, that would be excellent.
So if you like, so you could try it out with Teddy,
Yeah.
and then you find like, oh yeah, like it's the same thing for Teddy. Like he chills out after the 3rd person.
Yeah.
But of course, the guests have to ignore Teddy.
Okay.
Right?
Got
If they come in going, oh my God, Teddy, my buddy, right? It's gonna trigger him.
it. Okay.
Otherwise, you could do the crate thing, right?
Okay.
Or maybe you back them up for the first guest and then you pop them in the crate and then seeing how that plays out. Like there's a lot of different like ways of going about it.
Mhm.
But Enrique can help you uh, do the backing away one.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's my preferred method. And then the second one would be like the placemat one where you would step on the leash.
Yeah.
And then the last one would be the kennel.
Okay.
But the kennel is actually like the worst one because like as you can see, like he just goes like even more into reactivity.
Yeah.
So going on to the neighbor dogs and the barking, whatever,
Mhm.
is the problem you're having is you have the right idea of correcting them for the behavior,
Mhm.
um, but then redirecting them is not helping you.
Mhm.
Okay, so this is a real common question that people have where like let's say the dog's barking out the window.
Yeah.
And they'll say, Jesse, my dog barks out the window, and I call them, and they come back, but then they go back to bark at the window,
Mhm.
right? What's the problem?
Uh, if they didn't correct it, did
Yeah.
you say they corrected it? Okay, then they didn't do that.
They just called the dog.
Yeah.
So they go, Fido, come. Dog
Mhm.
leaves the window, comes back, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, back to barking out the window,
Mhm.
right? So we would have to administer an aversive to deter the dog from barking out the window.
Yeah.
So you were on the right track with that, but then I don't send him to place because if I correct him at 50 and he leaves the door or whatever he's barking at, and then I give him direction, it doesn't allow me to see if he learned what the correction was for.
Mhm.
Right. So then let's say I correct him, he leaves, but then 10 seconds later, he goes right back to barking.
Yeah.
Right. The correction was enough to stop him for 10 seconds, but not enough to deter him from doing it again. Right.
Okay.
But if you correct him and then place him, he technically doesn't get the opportunity to go back to bark or growl at the door.
Yeah.
And you want to give him that opportunity, just like with the backing away from the door.
Mhm.
We're not saying any words. You turn around, and if he tries to come to the front door again, you have to back him off because that's him saying, I'm still not calm yet.
Yeah.
Right? So what I would do is use 50 as your again reference point. If you're going to do remote, and just tap them. And if it takes you more than 3 taps to back them off, you got to go higher. It's the
Okay.
same rule, right?
Yeah.
Like so, like let's say you tap him once on 95, and he goes, and he like runs off away from the door, and then he's quiet for like the rest of the night, and the dogs just keep barking or whatever.
That worked.
95,
Yeah.
right? And then what you should see is after a couple of days of this, one day he's going to hear the dogs growling or barking or whatever. He's not even going to do anything. He's going to walk away from it.
Mhm.
He's going to hear them and he's going to go the other way.
Mhm.
He's going to think, I always get tapped when they start barking or whatever. And if I try to, growl or disagree with what they're doing, this happens. So instead, I'm just going to leave the situation and I'm going to go further from it.
Okay.
That's how you can tell that the correction is registering.
Yeah.
When it comes to behavior and behavior within the home, technically in this case, I don't really care about the going up part of it. You can if you'd like. For me, if I have a dog that's just being a jackass and I just want to stop it, I just max it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a very firm, harsh correction with no warning. The moment you see any kind of tension from him. So even like if his hackles goes up and he's quiet, boom, right there. Don't even put his hackles up.
Okay, that was actually gonna be my next question was sometimes he'll do a bark and a lunge and like just a whole show in front of the door. Other times when he hears it, I'll be like, Teddy. I mean, I'm not correcting him in the moment. I'm just saying like in a stern tone, Teddy, and he'll just start like growling. So I guess in that case, you're saying I should tap him too.
So the second you see the behavior starting, you tap.
Okay.
So dog logic is not the same as human logic. So I had a client whose dog used to dig to the garbage. Mm-hmm. And they would blast him at 127 continuous. And he would keep digging in the garbage. Okay. And they said, Jesse, how is this possible? Like, we're doing the harshest correction and this dog keeps digging in the garbage. And I said, because it's worth it. Yeah. But it's 127 continuous. I'm like, I understand that, but dogs bite each other. Right. So the reward was worth the risk for that dog. So what we did was 127 continuous for even looking at the garbage. Then the behavior stopped because then the dog couldn't even go to 0.1. Yeah. So super harsh correction for the tiniest little inkling of I want to look at the garbage, right? Okay. So for Teddy, let's say he's got the collar on, and you're up there in the levels, and you hear the grumbling and the barking start, and then you see Teddy just even turn to look, boom, right there. And I do 3. I go boom, 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 real fast. And he's going, no. And he's going, holy crap, what was that? Mm-hmm. And he might shiver in the corner, and I ignore him, right? Yeah. And then what you'll see is real quickly, when he hears those dogs grumbling and barking, whatever, he's not going to want to have anything to do with it. He's going to leave the room, if anything. Okay. So there's that approach. The other approach would be because potentially you could become collar dependent, right? Now, outside is one thing because there's dogs, there's stimuli, there's scents and all that, right? Mm-hmm. But inside the home, there's less stimuli. So I unless it's obedient stuff or like when guests coming over, because then again, that's a stimuli. I would think you would need the e-collar. Did we ever talk about a bonker?
Yeah, we did, but I never really implemented it just because I felt like I had enough control on the e-collar, but then I obviously forgot about it.
Yeah. So in this context with the barking with the neighbor dogs, you can use the bonker. Okay. I simply don't do that. And did I send you the videos for the
of the guy? Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I would give them a review so you can, because on one of them you'll see the trainer actually bonking a puppy, and you'll see that just how much force he puts behind it. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I will tell you about Teddy is that with physical corrections, because I do the Caesar Milan correction.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
He gets defensive.
Yeah.
Right, where he's like, rawr.
Yeah.
So if you did the bonker, I would make 2 to 3 of them, so you can reload if needed. But also, if you go to correct them, and Teddy turns around and says, "Who are you to correct me?" and seemingly becomes more aggressive, you have to go even firmer. Okay. You have to go even firmer. And like, let's say he grabs the towel and he's like, right, then I got my other one. Boom, right? You can only bite one at a time. Yeah. I'm going to win this fight. And what you need to do is continue to correct them. So I was spanked growing up. Mm-hmm. And there was, when I got bigger, there was one time where I started laughing because it wasn't hurting anymore, right? Yeah. So I started laughing. So then my mom was like, "Oh, you think it's funny?" She just kept whooping me until eventually that shit hurt. Yeah. And then I started crying, and she was like, "Huh?" So
Worked, I guess.
Same thing for the dog, right? If you go to bonk him and he turns around and he starts, you know, going after the towel or like just becoming even more aggressive, I correct even firmer. But then if you feel like it's agitating him, it's just like a cyclone of boom, 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 boom until the dog goes, wah! And then you'll see him run off.
Okay.
Then you won the battle.
Mhm.
Right. So like there's a video, I'm not sure if it's still on the internet, but there's this lady with the Doberman, I think, and she's got like a wiffle bat, like the plastic bats.
Mhm.
And I know what she's doing. She got a lot of flack for it, but it's a good visual of what you're trying to create. Is that the Doberman, I think, became reactive.
Mhm.
So with the wiffle bat, she goes pop, 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 pop. She keeps popping the dog until the dog yelps and jumps back.
Mhm.
And she goes, you have to correct until the dog disengages or the dog goes into flight.
Mhm.
And I agree. The only problem with it is that the dog was fear aggressive. Okay. So in that case, I disagree with how she applied it because of what she was dealing with. However, she was correct in the sense of you keep going until the dog retreats.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not sure how Teddy's going to respond. If anything, he could be like super receptive to it because it's not you personally.
Yeah.
But I know if you do the Cesar Milan touch, he's gonna retaliate because we've seen it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So, but that would be how I would deter him from escalating with the neighbors,
Mhm.
so you don't become caller dependent.
Okay.
You technically could also do that approach if a guest comes in and he's over the top, but you wouldn't back him away. You would just let the guest come in and then Teddy do his thing and then correct him there. The problem is that your guest is going to be like, "What the hell are you doing here?"
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm just
so that's
picturing.
where that's where you have to kind of pick and choose things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so when you work with Enrique, what I would suggest is you pick the one that you really want to work on, and
Yeah.
then maybe a secondary. Okay.
Okay.
Now you're only going to have maybe 2 to 3 attempts to practice this because once you've done it so many times within a time frame,
Mhm.
he's going to assume like, oh, this is what we're doing, and he's going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions about that?
No. So the things that Enrique and I could work on. The number one thing I think should be I want it to be like the barrier, the boundary for when people come in the door. That'd be my number one. And then the secondary options, one could be the bonker or it could be like the collar training when he's barking. Or what was the
You talking about with the front door, how to approach the front door itself?
yeah, what are the things that Enrique and I might be working on other than
Help you with the threshold, backing away.
yeah.
Help you with reinforcing the place command,
Okay.
or if he's flipping out with the crate.
Mhm.
But that like you have to pick the one you want to do first
Okay.
because like let's say you did the crate one first, and then you try to do backing away from the door. Chances are there's going to be a harsh correction to get him to shut up in the crate. That he's going to be disinterested by the time he gets to the door.
Yeah.
So you want to pick the one that you want to prioritize
Yeah. I'm
for the
gonna
first go,
I'm
and
writing.
then and it really depends on the dog. Like for all I know, because some dogs will trigger it like at the doorbell,
Mhm.
no matter what, right? So if Teddy's one of those dogs, you can go through everything, pending you have time, right?
Yeah.
Because he'll just constantly trigger. So like it's a pro because you can work through everything, but it's a con because dog your
Yeah.
dog is so reactive to whatever you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So either one of those things, that's where you'd want to prioritize. I think using Enrique's time
Yeah.
because the once you watch the bonker videos and then you start applying it for the grumbling at the neighbor dogs, that one should be pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I kind of am getting from this. I think that would probably be last on the list if we got through everything
Yeah.
together. Okay.
And like the only, and then also you need him to like, or need the neighbor's dog to start like doing that as you're having your session.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Other questions?
Um, no, those are really like the main things I wanted to go over.
Okay. Um, I will send you an email with Enrique's email, and then you can coordinate with him to get your session scheduled.
Cool.
Okay. And then no rush, just whenever you're ready.
Okay.
Then he'll put on this calendar.
Okay, cool. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah. Anything else?
No?
Awesome. So we'll see Teddy tomorrow and Thursday,
Yep.
and then again Saturday through Sunday.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Sounds good. So if anything pops up, you let us know. Otherwise, we'll be in touch.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks,
Thank
Jesse.
you.
Bye.